Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready for another deep dive?
Always.
Awesome. Today we're tackling ancient Chinese medicine. Specifically, what this text, the Yellow Emperor's Classic of Internal Medicine, has to say about meridians.
Oh yeah, classic text.
You sent over some excerpts from chapter 17.
The spiritual pivots, the measurements of the meridians.
Right. And honestly, I'm a bit intimidated. It mentions pathways totaling 16 zang and 2 qi. Like, what even I asked that?
Haha, yeah, it can sound pretty out there. But actually, those measurements are really interesting. A zang is about 10 feet long.
Okay, so we're not talking inches here.
Not at all. We're talking an energy network potentially over 160 feet long inside the human body. It's not some small thing.
Wow, that's way more extensive than I imagined.
This text is saying qi, that life force energy, flows through this massive network.
You called it a superhighway system in your notes, and I'm starting to see why. But a map is only useful if you know how to read it, right? What makes this text's description of the meridians so unique? Did ancient healers actually use these measurements when they were practicing?
Absolutely. This text isn't just theory. It lays the groundwork for practices like acupuncture.
Oh, interesting.
So by understanding the exact lengths and locations of meridians, healers could figure out specific points to target to restore that balance of qi.
So it's like they created this whole roadmap for energy flow in the body. I'm already seeing how this is so much more than just an anatomy lesson.
For sure.
And the text also seems to connect these meridians to our organs and even our senses, right?
Exactly. That's one of the really fascinating takeaways here. The idea that everything's connected.
It mentions a connection between the 5 zang organs, things like the heart and lungs, and the 7 orifices of the head, like your eyes and nose.
Right.
Wait, how are our organs connected to our senses through meridians? It sounds a little, I don't know, far-fetched.
Yeah, it can sound a bit unusual at first, but the text explains each organ's qi is linked to a particular sense. So, for example, the lungs, which are all about taking in the outside world. They're connected to the nose, which is how we smell.
Oh.
So if your lung qi is balanced, you're going to be able to fully appreciate all those scents.
That's interesting. I've definitely noticed that when I have a stuffy nose, food tastes super bland. So is that what it's saying? A blocked nose equals weak lung qi, and then you can't taste as well.
Yeah, you're getting it. It's all connected.
Wow. Are there other examples like that?
Oh, tons. The text is full of them. For example, the heart's qi is connected to the tongue.
Which makes sense, because that's the organ of taste.
Right, and also speech. A healthy heart lets us savor those flavors and express ourselves clearly. It all comes back to this idea that everything in the body is linked through this web of energy.
It's a lot to take in, that's for sure. But before my brain totally explodes, let's talk about what happens when this qi flow gets messed up.
Okay.
I notice the text uses these terms, guan and gia, when it's talking about blockages. What do those mean?
That's a great question. Those terms are key to understanding how illness was viewed back then. Imagine a river with a dam in it.
Okay, yeah.
That dam creates a blockage, right? Okay. Leading to flooding upstream and dryness downstream.
Makes sense.
Guan describes that obstruction, the full-on blockage of qi. Guan is a little different, more like a separation in the flow, as if a channel's been diverted.
Okay, so both guan and ger, they're both bad news for the body's energy flow.
Exactly. Both can lead to illness.
So keeping that qi flowing smoothly is essential for health. And this text doesn't just talk about meridians in general, it gets into specifics, right?
Right.
There's one set I found especially intriguing, the Qiao Mai.
The heel vessels.
Yes, they literally start at the heel and travel up to the eyes. That's quite a journey.
It is. The Qiao Mai are fascinating. They really show how this system isn't just about what's happening on the surface. It goes much deeper.
Okay.
The text claims these meridians nourish the eyes and ensure clear vision.
Wait, so stimulating points on my heel could help my eyesight? Is that what they're getting at?
That's the idea. In traditional Chinese medicine, the eyes are seen as windows to the soul.
Interesting.
A reflection of your overall health. The Qiao Mai, connecting the lower body to the eyes, show this whole body nature of how qi circulates.
My mind is blown. We often think about the body in separate parts, but this text is making me see it as one big interconnected unit.
That's one of the most revolutionary things about this text, even thousands of years later. It emphasizes that holistic nature of our being, long before modern wellness caught on. But this interconnectedness goes even deeper than the physical stuff.
Okay.
The text also talks about how qi nourishes not just the zang, the solid organs, but also the fu, the hollow ones.
And of course, we can't forget the famous duo yin and yang.
Exactly. Those concepts are at the core of how this system works.
So remind me how those relate to the meridians.
Well, yin meridians, like those associated with the zang organs, are all about nourishing and storing energy.
Okay.
Yang meridians, linked to those fu organs, focus more on transforming moving things through the body.
So it's this constant back and forth, like a dance between these two opposing forces, keeping everything in balance.
Exactly. The text even uses the analogy of a circle to highlight that cyclical nature of qi flow.
Pretty cool.
It's a beautiful concept, and it really pushes us to view the body as a dynamic system, not just a bunch of static parts.
I have to admit, this is pretty complex stuff, and there's one more concept that has me totally confused. The text mentions how meridians can shift between being primary or collateral. I'm not sure I get that at all.
Yeah, that's where it gets really nuanced. The text uses these terms, Jing and Luo, to describe these different meridian functions.
So break that down for me. What do Jing and Luo actually mean in this context?
Jing refers to the primary function of a meridian, like its main highway. But each one also has a Luo function. It's like a network of side roads and connections, allowing for subtler interactions with other meridians and parts of the body.
So a single meridian can actually have multiple roles, depending on the situation.
Precisely. It all comes down to the needs of the body at that moment, and that overall flow of qi. This idea that the meridians have shifting roles is a testament to just how complex and adaptable this system really is.
Yeah, this is way more than I ever expected. I feel like we've only just scratched the surface here. But I already have so many questions, like, how did ancient healers figure all of this out without the technology we have today?
It's amazing, isn't it? It really speaks to their incredible observational skills and that deep knowledge they built over generations.
This is truly fascinating stuff. I think I need a moment to process all this incredible information.
Me too.
Okay, so how did they do it? I mean, they didn't have X-rays or MRIs, right? How did they map out this whole system?
It's pretty mind-boggling. But even without all that tech, they were seriously skilled observers.
Yeah.
Over centuries, they built up this understanding of the body's subtle cues.
So they were like detectives of the body, in a way.
Exactly. Using things like palpation, feeling the body, pulse diagnosis, checking the pulse, and just observing symptoms really carefully.
So it was this combination of like hands-on experience and meticulous observation.
Right. And they documented it all so carefully, passing down that knowledge through generations. And it's important to remember, this text goes beyond just the physical stuff.
Oh yeah, I was just thinking that. It's not a dry medical textbook, really.
Not at all. It weaves in the emotional, even the spiritual aspects of health.
Like that whole concept of qi, it seems to go beyond just physical energy, right?
Exactly. The text describes it as the vital force that animates all living things. It's not just flowing through those meridians, nourishing our organs and tissues.
Right.
It's influencing our emotions, our thoughts, even our spiritual connection.
So if our emotions can impact our physical health, which is what this text suggests, could learning to cultivate and balance our qi actually make us more resilient emotionally?
That's such a great question.
All right.
And it gets to the core of how this ancient wisdom is relevant to us today. A lot of practitioners of traditional Chinese medicine believe that working with the meridian system through things like acupuncture, acupressure, qigong,
Right.
that it can impact not just your physical health, but also your emotional and mental well-being.
I'm starting to see how it all connects. It's like we have this whole toolkit for fine-tuning our internal energy system. But is there any science to back this up? Or is it purely ancient wisdom and tradition?
That's the big question, isn't it? Western science, with its focus on data and measurements, it hasn't quite figured out how to fully grasp the concept of qi. It doesn't really fit neatly into our current models of biology.
So it's this ancient knowledge that's kind of hard to prove or disprove using our modern methods.
Exactly. But that doesn't automatically mean it's wrong. There's actually a growing body of research exploring the potential mechanisms behind things like acupuncture.
Okay.
For instance, some studies suggest it could stimulate the release of endorphins, which have those pain-relieving and mood-boosting effects.
So even if we don't fully understand how it works, there's evidence that it does something.
Right. And for many people, that's enough. They've felt the benefits themselves and keep turning to these ancient practices.
It's a good reminder that there's still so much we don't know about the body and what it's capable of. This is all making me want to book an acupuncture appointment. But before I do that, let's go back to the text for a sec.
Okay.
There's this line about the Qiao Mai, the heel vessels, being branches of the Yin meridian. Can you explain that connection?
Sure. So the Qiao Mai meridian is associated with the kidney and heart in traditional Chinese medicine.
Okay.
Remember how the Qiao Mai run from the heels all the way up to the eyes? They're seen as connecting these vital organs.
That makes sense. The text also mentions the Qiao Mai emerge from behind the Rangu point.
Yes.
I'm guessing that's more than just a random anatomical detail, right?
You're right. Rangu, also known as kidney 2, it's a key acupuncture point on the inner ankle. It's often used to treat issues related to the kidneys, like urinary problems, swelling, lower back pain. The fact that the Qiao Mai start near this point just reinforces that link to kidney function.
So stimulating this Rangu point could potentially affect the qi flowing through those Qiao Mai and impact our eye health. It all circles back.
Exactly. It all comes back to that interconnectedness. It's a fundamental principle of this whole system. By understanding these connections, we start to see the body as a unified whole, not separate parts.
My mind is officially blown. I'm starting to get why this text has been so influential for so long, but there's this one passage that's still bugging me. It says qi flows to the 5 zang organs, but not to the 6 fu organs. Doesn't that seem a bit odd?
It might seem strange at first, but that's where the concept of yin and yang comes in again. Remember, those zang organs, they're yin. Those are your solid storage organs, like the heart, lungs, liver, spleen, kidney.
Right.
The fu organs, on the other hand, are yang. Those are the hollow transformative organs, like the stomach, gallbladder, intestines, bladder.
Okay, so it's not that qi ignores the fu organs completely. It's more about how that energy is distributed, how it's used.
Precisely. The text says that yin meridians nourish and store qi, and those are associated with the zang organs. Yang meridians, connected to those fu organs, are more about transforming and moving things through.
Okay.
It's a constant interplay between these two forces, a dynamic balance keeping the system running smoothly.
It's like this beautiful dance between yin and yang with qi flowing all throughout the body, nourishing and transforming everything.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And that idea of balance, it's really key to understanding how this whole system approaches health.
So it's not just about treating symptoms, it's about getting to the root of those imbalances in this energy system.
Exactly. And that's where things like acupuncture and qigong come into play.
Yeah.
By working with that meridian system, these practices are trying to restore harmony to that flow of qi.
Interesting.
Promoting healing on all levels.
Yes, sir.
Physical, emotional, spiritual.
This whole deep dive has been incredible. We've learned about meridians, qi, yin and yang, that whole holistic approach to health. It's amazing.
It's pretty remarkable how much wisdom is packed into these ancient texts, isn't it?
It really is.
They give us this amazing understanding of the body and its potential for healing.
So for our listener, what's the one key takeaway you hope they walk away with?
I think the most important thing to remember is we're more than just physical beings. We're these complex, interconnected systems of energy. And if we can understand and work with that energy, we can take control of our health in a whole new way.
That's a great way to put it. And if this deep dive has piqued your interest, listener, why not explore a little further? Maybe try an acupuncture session, a qigong class.
Yeah, it could be a really interesting journey.
And on that note, we'll wrap things up here. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into ancient Chinese medicine. We'll see you next time for another adventure into the world of knowledge. All right, so before the break, we were talking about how the text kind of implies that qi nourishes the zang organs, but not the fu organs.
Right. You were explaining how that relates to yin and yang, but can we unpack that a bit more? It still feels a little counterintuitive to me.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those concepts that takes a little getting used to. The text isn't saying that qi, completely ignores the fu organs.
Okay.
It's more about understanding the different roles these organs play in the whole energy system.
So how does the yin and yang of it all come into play?
Well, remember, the zang organs, those are considered yin. Those are the solid ones, like the heart, lungs, liver, spleen, kidneys. They're all about storing and conserving that qi.
Right.
The fu organs, on the other hand, they're yang. They're the hollow organs, the ones that transform and move things through the body, the stomach, gallbladder, intestines, bladder, all those.
So the zang organs are like the qi reservoirs, and the fu organs are more like the pipes and processing plants.
Yeah, that's a great way to think about it. And just like a processing plant needs a constant supply of energy to work, the fu organs rely on that qi stored in the zang organs.
Oh. It's this dynamic exchange between the two. A constant flow between yin and yang, storage and transformation.
So it's not that the fu organs don't get A and Y qi, it's more that they're using it up to do their jobs rather than storing it away.
Exactly. The text actually describes this as a circle without end,
Interesting.
highlighting that cyclical nature of qi flow. It's not like energy just sits there. It's always moving, being replenished, used to keep everything running.
It's making me think about those yin-yang symbols you see, the black and white swirling together. It's not just a static image, it's representing that constant dance of energy.
Exactly. And that concept of cyclical flow, of interconnectedness and balance, it's crucial to how traditional Chinese medicine approaches health and illness.
It's not just treating the symptoms, it's about getting that whole energy system back in balance.
Exactly. And that's where practices like acupuncture and qigong come in. By working with the meridians, they're trying to restore harmony to that flow of qi, promoting healing on all those different levels, physical, emotional, spiritual.
Wow. This whole deep dive has been an incredible journey. I feel like I've learned so much. The meridians, qi, yin and yang. It's amazing how much ancient wisdom is packed into this text. What an incredible understanding of the human body and its potential for healing.
It really is.
So for a listener out there, what's the one thing you really hope they take away from all of this?
I think the most important thing is to remember that we are way more than just physical beings. We're these complex, interconnected systems of energy. And if we can tap into that, learn to work with it, it opens up a whole new world of possibilities for our health and well-being.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And listener, if this has sparked your curiosity, why not dive in a little deeper? Maybe try an acupuncture session, a Qigong class, see what it's all about.
It's definitely a journey worth taking.
And on that note, we'll wrap things up here. Thanks for joining us for this incredible deep dive into ancient Chinese medicine. Until next time, keep exploring.